So I'm going to call to order the Finance and Audit Committee agenda meeting, January 9th at 3 p.m. and read the statement of announcement. A news release announcing the date and time and place of the January 9th Finance and Audit Committee meeting was distributed January 7th, 2020 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted on the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. Americans with Disability Act, the public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance. So I am going to make a motion to adopt the agenda that was provided to us. Gary, since you're the only commissioner in the meeting,
Gary, you there?
You want to approve it? Must be on mute.
Have you unmuted yourself, Gary, on your computer?
He has frequent problems. He's not muted here. Volume's up as high as it'll go. I don't see any more buttons to press. That's all I can go by.
Yes. I think we try to do it on this so it can be recorded. And if we do it on a phone, yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it does. I know. On other committee meetings, we'll do that a lot. Just use my phone. Okay, so
hold on. I will text him. Okay. 1 sec, he said.
Okay, 1 second.
Love technology, huh?
You love it or you hate it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's nice when it does work.
It stops you in your tracks.
We've got to do some job interviews this week via Skype. I hope it works.
I know, you never know. Oh, yeah.
It's all Skype.
Wow.
He dropped off, so he must be calling in.
Mm-hmm. Probably have to answer the.
What's happening?
I don't think it's anything on our side.
We had him on here and everything was unmuted, and he just texted me, said, wait 1 sec, but it looked like he dropped off.
Maybe he was trying to get a better connection.
Yeah.
And trying a different phone. Just.
Or he did make good on his promise to throw that laptop out the window. I'm not really sure.
The camera doesn't appear to be working.
Yeah. We've got trouble with the cameras trying to figure what's going on.
Okay, Mark just told.
See, you
Sandra
came here and now the
working.
cameras don't work.
I thought Mark just told
They were working
Sandra today
fine.
that the cameras were working fine.
Well, they work fine until we try to use them.
Do we have the minutes from last?
They're attached to your packet. Isn't that not done?
I don't know. I might be overlooking them. I just was trying to look at them while we were waiting.
2 pages.
Yeah.
It was just from here. Here's mine. It really was just that one
So that's how
last bullet.
okay. So that's how the minutes look. Okay.
Mhm.
I just didn't realize they would. Okay. You have them. So do we approve the minutes from the last meeting, or are we just saying that this is the new format?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at the format and the content, make sure that's the way you want them to look.
Well, okay, yeah.
If you have another change, let's make it. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah, my
so,
comments are missing out of here. This is weird, because I
Yeah.
put all my stuff,
I'm missing the brief comment
I
summary.
sent all my
so
information to
it's
Sandra.
just like the
This is wrong.
template of what we want to have, or y'all gave her some
No,
info?
but there's some
Okay.
information that's in here, so I think that there's a problem that wasn't filled in all the way.
So
tell-
Kevin did his,
Yep, I'm
and
gonna,
then it got kicked to me, and I filled all this out and sent it back to Sandra.
He has to reboot.
But this is
It
not.
always locks up on my system trying to rejoin. I have to reboot.
Sandra, if you can hear us, we didn't actually get the correct minutes. What we have is what Kevin added, not the full.
Yeah,
completed.
I'm hearing it. I'm gonna look now for what happened. I'll try to. I know I did them, so I'll print them out and bring them down. Okay.
Got an
Thank you.
email from me.
Yeah, I
but
must have
the-
just printed out the wrong ones, the format.
So the background on this is, we know we technically never had monthly or frequent audit meetings, but one of the last ones we had, we talked about it'd be nice to have minutes from this meeting.
We should have minutes from any
Yeah.
committee meetings.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay, so that's kind of what spurred this, yeah.
But
Yeah,
how we
so-
do it, instead of having that long, the narrative, just have a description of each item that's
So what's
presented.
open for discussion is how we make the minutes kind of look and
Mm-hmm.
what kind of content we really want to make sure is summarized,
And
and not what's included and what's not included.
I would say that we include the minutes from this meeting into the board packet information, the commission packet information that goes out, prior to the commission meeting, because when you put the
Yeah.
description in here, talking about all the items you're going to bring to them, so
Right.
if people
Yeah, I
do their
agree.
homework, you've got a good place to go for the information.
That helps totally to have that provided. So, okay, I agree with that for
So
sure.
I guess until we get the actual correct version, I don't know if you want to defer that
Yeah,
to later in the meeting so we can
keep moving.
move forward, or how you want to do that. But
Yeah.
do we have Gary still or not? It might be a meeting of one at this time.
No, he's not. He's coming. He's not there. He's just got to figure out how to get in. Worst case scenario, he can call.
Yeah, I'm
So-
just saying we can't really.
So does he have to call through this so it can be recorded, or can he use our phone? Like
What's said in this
we were just
room will be
talking about that a
recorded.
second ago. Could we just?
Whatever's said in the room is recorded.
Yeah, it's,
I didn't know if it had to be.
yeah, there's a Skype phone number that'll link it through here so that it's piped into the video feed.
I got him. Give me another couple of minutes. I'm going to say, don't worry, no one's laughing, except for Chris Clark.
Did you think that was funny? You did,
It
didn't
is
you?
frustrating, though, when you're trying to get back and you cannot, there's one thing wrong and you can't figure out what it is. It's very frustrating.
All right, so do I need to be here?
I don't-
Camera's working right now.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, just call us back, Eunice.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
See, I would have made him stay till Gary gets
But he's just calling,
I know.
right? Or is he?
Well,
I don't know,
He
just
will
say,
if
I
he
think
can't
he's
connect.
trying to get in.
He can't connect. Don't
Because
worry.
the
tried.
issue's not on our side. It's
I know.
so there's not. a
Okay,
whole lot.
Mr. Spectrum guy.
We could, while we wait on Gary, if you want, if you would take under recommendation that maybe we talk about the meeting date for the next.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Did
think
we,
should do
didn't
that.
we discuss standardizing?
We did.
And then we moved it because
then
of the
we-
holidays and stuff this month?
Yeah, so I think we talked about having this meeting, 2 Thursdays before, I felt like we didn't want it, we wanted more than a week, but I think we were thinking
I don't
for
have,
some reason, or maybe it was me, I think because sometimes I have something on, that's why. So I was thinking the first Thursday, I think of the month, was gonna work the best for me for most months. So,
and that's what this is, right? No, this is actually the second one, isn't it?
yeah, because the first was too close to the
I added the template instead of the actual summary.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sandra.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly what I
and
thought.
and I'll print it
Can
in
you
blue.
email that to get your face?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I'll tell you. Here you guys. Just grab them. I didn't print
Now
them
that
before,
makes
it
more
would've
sense.
taken
Yeah,
too
so if you
long.
want to standardize that, and then we can always
So-
move it as things.
Gary, Sandra,
Yeah, I said, I told him.
email it to
So-
Gary.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put it in the meeting, where he can click on it. Yeah.
That'd be what?
Maybe,
February
you might
4th?
want to email it to him.
No, that's a Tuesday. It would be the 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'd be
I'm
the
not trying to.
6th, although I think I might have a
I feel
conflict
bad
on the
'cause
6th.
I've been there myself.
Maybe we shouldn't standardize it. Maybe we should just go month by month and find it.
That's going to be really hard. I'm just saying for the other people, they need to put it on their schedule.
I can put it on the schedule, but I just don't know.
You can't keep.
Sorry. I wish my life wasn't like this. But
And it could be
is.
subject to change. Just put one of
That's
those little
okay. Okay.
asterisks
So
next to it.
what? So we'll go with this Thursday, the 6th of February, at 3:00, and then we'll try to do March the 5th, right? First Thursday of the month at 3:00, and then so forth and so on. So the plan is the first Thursday of each month at
At
3
3,
o'clock we'll
okay.
have this meeting. Okay. Unless something comes up.
So we just changed the commission meeting to we
Yeah.
moved that back a week. I mean, it happens.
Right.
We always had to change our board meeting because of the holidays. No one was going to show up on Thanksgiving.
No, they would not. Okay, so I'm gonna look at these minutes to see.
You see how it's
Yeah,
going?
I like these. I like how it's-
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, apologize for the delay.
I'm used to things never starting on time. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I went to an IEP on Tuesday, and I was there at 8 o'clock on the dot. Well, I was there 2 minutes before, and they said, "You're early." I said, "It's 2 minutes before 8. It's not exactly. It's going to take me that long to hobble down the hallway." And
That's crazy.
yeah, they didn't show up till about 20 after. The teacher showed up, and I said, "Sit down with me. We're going over this thing. We're going to have this thing already in the can by the time they walk in the door." So they get their obligatory other people that have to be there.
Yeah.
And so we did, and we buzzed through that thing. I was out of there at 8:45.
That's good.
Well, it's high school. We've already discussed it.
Can you guys
so-
hear me?
Yes.
Can you
Can you
hear
hear
us?
I can hear you guys. The problem is never hearing you guys. It locks up on my end, and then I have no way to communicate with you, and I have to literally reboot everything on my end in order to join in. And it's still rebooting. I'm on the phone right now.
Okay. I've got my, and if anything happens, I've got the phone right here. So you can always text me. Okay?
Or call in on
He's calling in now.
on your
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling you now.
If this messes up,
Hopefully it won't.
you know what I mean? Just in case.
Okay.
Okay, Gary, I had read the statement of announcement, and
Okay. And I was desperately trying to second or make the motion that you wanted, but was unable to do so because it locked me
Okay.
in completely.
all right. So we
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, so I guess I second it, or not really, because I can.
No, you just
So
vote on it.
the adoption of the agenda has been approved. All right, so the first item on the agenda is to review the minutes of the November 7th, 2019 meeting. We're kind of wanting to look at the format, the content, and approve the minutes that were just passed out to us by Sandra, since the version in the packet that you might have gotten, Gary, was the template and not the actual
Right.
completed minutes. And so I don't know, maybe if Sandra can email you that.
She was going to email you that and put it into the meeting so that you can click on it.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. Unless he can't get into the, well, he must be in Skype.
Well, I emailed it as well.
No, what I'm on is the phone, so I can't access anything through Skype.
Okay,
It's like I'm
so
on a phone call right now.
can you
So-
can you access it through email?
Or his email is probably being.
Yeah, and Gary, this is the same exact version that I think we bounced off of you back in December, and it has
Yeah,
not been.
I remember.
since
I
then.
just got the email.
Okay. So, the format, should I read these or just, I mean,
What,
like
the
out
minutes?
loud? Yeah, or should I just make
No.
a motion to?
Just make a motion to accept them,
To accept them, okay.
approve them.
And approve the format, right? Because we're kind of like making sure that this is, so as I see the agenda, it has us summary of what we talked about, the committee guidance, how to proceed, and if any votes, okay, were taken. And so that makes perfect sense for each of these, to me. And so, as I review the last part of this. So at this point, I'll just make a motion to approve the minutes provided to us from 7th.
Yeah, I agree. We can, since there's only 2 members, it's kind of awkward to move in second, but I'm in favor of approving the minutes as presented. I do like the format that we have here with the summary, the interaction, and then any voting. I think it's good. I like the format that you guys came up with on this.
Would this format be used for the policy?
I think we're going to use this for all committee meetings. Yes, I think this is good.
Okay. I didn't know if anything like this had been used for them.
As soon as we set one. Yeah.
So and that was part of it. We really didn't have committee minutes of any sort created. So.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was maybe.
And it was very difficult because we used to have to go back and sit and listen to the tape to see exactly, especially in policy committee, it got very convoluted to try to pull apart what are the parts that we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's nice that you have like an action set.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll move to the item 4, review of the Finance Committee action items requiring full commission ratification. Chris, do you want to go pick up here?
Yeah. So our goal here, we were kind of stymied and we had to keep doing business. We had things that we had to get done to keep providers and their cash flow flowing. They couldn't wait till the commission got back together in January to get their money when we owe them $500,000 or $1 million or whatever. So the committee helped us review on behalf of the full commission to see if there were any concerns so that we could go ahead and have some form and level of review. And the goal here is to reiterate that we did present in November and in December 2 separate sets of amendments. The December ones, though, were in a commission meeting.
Yes.
But there was not a commission to vote. But they said, yes, we need to proceed.
But we put them out there in public, so people weren't getting paid monies that the public did not know about.
Okay.
So the goal here just being to bring this back up, say, hey, these are the things we did during this dead period, and we need to take formal action on them at our actual commission meeting.
Okay.
So item A, there were 4 contract amendments in the November meeting, and I think there was 1 or 2 in the December meeting, and we can provide a list of those to the commission members so that when we meet on the 23rd, they can ratify those.
Okay.
And then the 2 directives, was that good? Did I cover them?
Yeah.
Okay. The 2 directives were just aligning us with state law changes. The travel directive increased the meal rate that providers are allowed to use to reimburse staff for meals when they're travel related meals. And the state dictates that information, and then we turn around and plug it into our directive. There's no reason why that directive needs to be other than what the state permits. We don't have a need to arbitrarily reduce what the state permits as a meal ceiling. So we simply just drafted the directives with that change.
Okay.
That was the only change in the travel directive. And then the procurement directive, they increased.
And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. It basically allowed it to go up to the maximum allowed by the state. In other words, individual boards were still allowed to set that rate at what they deemed appropriate for their locality, but we just gave them the flexibility to increase if they wanted to.
Correct.
That's correct.
It's a ceiling.
Yeah, they can always be more restrictive. They just can't go over it.
Okay.
And yes, sir. Then the procurement directive was very similar. The state procurement code changed, and all we do is we take their state procurement code and make it more pertinent for our providers, because the state procurement code is not applicable to our political subdivisions. We are required, though, to establish a procurement directive for our agencies, but not deploy the full procurement code. I mean, it's over 100 pages long, the actual procurement code. So what we did is we grabbed the changes related to the bid requirements. It used to be $2,500, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, to get bids, and they bumped it to $10,000. And the issue is this was kind of a win for our providers where they could do business more effectively and efficiently. And we want to pass that ability through to them and not wait till January or February to do so.
Okay. All right.
But those are the primary changes in those directives.
Okay. All right.
And then we had to turn in a spending plan to start the year. Of course, we didn't have a commission at that time, so at the August 9th meeting of this committee, you guys did approve, and then we took to the commission members that did exist at that time the actual budget plan. And so we just need to get that ratified.
Okay. All right.
Those
And that's
are
the
the
2021 budget?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Gary, anything before we move on to the next item on the agenda regarding the
No,
rate?
Robin, what I would sort of expect is, assuming that we do actually have a functioning commission come our next meeting, that you would be making on behalf of the finance committee motions with regard to these items.
Okay. All right.
So just want to make sure you're comfortable enough to do that.
Well,
Yes.
and also, Gary, we've also have the contingency, if you need to fall back on Chris to explain the items,
Yeah.
he's going to be up there supporting you, so it's not a problem.
Okay. All right.
We put Robin and Chris as the presenter for those things.
Okay. On the agenda.
Because there's just so much information.
Yeah. True.
And Robin,
Okay.
you can think about how you want to do it. If you want to have Chris make the presentations and you just make the motions on behalf of the finance committee,
Right.
that's fine.
Okay.
However, whatever you're comfortable with on that works for me.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I think I will then have you present and I'll make a
Sure.
motion. Okay. All
I'll be
right.
ready.
Okay, good. Okay, moving to item 5, consideration
Okay.
of options to pass state appropriated funds to case management and early intervention July to December funding.
Right. So to reiterate a little, we did discuss this in our November 7th Finance Committee meeting, and we've also discussed it in the informational commission meetings to a certain extent. The issue is we were only able to get HHS to agree to, when we get pay raises, the way it's always worked in the prior structure, prior to fee-for-service rollout, we would get the money from the state. We would negotiate on behalf of our providers to get rate increases that are our rates with HHS, and that's how we would get our money from the state and the federal government, those two pieces. But when we went to fee-for-service with case management and early intervention, now that is fee that the providers receive as their revenue. We don't give them grants anymore. So we have to rely on Health and Human Services to agree to increase rates effective July 1st for state appropriated increases. And the thing is, this is brand new to them, brand new to us. By the time we gave them what they needed and convinced them that we need to do something, they agreed to increase it January 1. The issue is we're legislatively required to increase these people's pay July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Of 2019.
Well, and we received money
Right.
going back to July. So we received an
Right.
appropriation that covered the full fiscal year, not just part of it. But remember, we only received 30% of the actual rate increase. So
So when we discussed this last meeting, we agreed to proceed with developing a plan once we have a definitive answer on the rate increase January 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
So
they
update.
agreed to increase the rate
Okay.
starting
January.
January 1st. We know that the state is expecting all the monies that were appropriated to go out to the providers of these two services. They have not given us a methodology to do that. So we've got a couple of ways of doing it, and this is what we're going to present to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we discussed a few options in November, but as we've processed this more and thought about it in greater depth, really the best scenario, we have really two viable scenarios. One is to utilize existing FTE reports that were submitted in March or April of last year.
Which are not really valid now.
that can be very misleading based on, they report vacancies, they may have restructured related to fee-for-service implementation. There's all kinds of built-in weaknesses associated with using the FTE reports, but that is the basis in which the state determined the money to give us. And so that is one viable option. The more preferred option and the more accurate option to me would be to simulate what that rate increase would have been July 1st using just our 30% money and distribute funds to providers based on their actual productivity levels.
Yeah.
To me, that's what should have happened with 100% dollars. So it makes sense that we do that with our 30% dollars. And that we just go back and get all their stats July 1 through December and give them a check for their share of whatever that works out to per unit times the number of units generated.
Yeah.
You have a...
No, I was just going to say that basically what we're saying is the rate of what the rate is was turned to on January 1st. When we do it productivity wise, we're saying that rate go back to July 1. If they had acted when we needed them to act on July 1, that would have been the rate they were getting there, and this would not be an issue. So that's what the productivity solution is, which I do think is the most equitable because that's what they earned. And that's what a market rate is. It's what you earn, not just because you have so many people working for you. And you're right. Those FTE numbers were pulled quite a while ago. And so they're not really accurate at this point.
FTE stands for
Full-time equivalent.
Especially
People working for you.
Staffing report. They have to turn, all providers, including QPLs, have to remit that to us in March or April, and that information is utilized by DDSN to secure appropriated funds for cost of living increases, state health insurance, state retirement, dollar increases, any other staff associated appropriations. So I think that's fair. Go ahead, Gary.
I was just going to say, and obviously when the legislature appropriated those funds and designated us, they designate the 30% thinking we're going to get the 70% match from DHHS. That's not happening because of DHHS's decision.
Well,
do we have any indication? Am I not correct on that?
Yeah, it is not. Actually, the proviso should have been changed because we actually changed the payment methodology. We went from it is not the same system we had. So the case managers and EI should have been pulled out of that methodology because they're in a market rate. You can't. The way we used to do it can't work with that market rate. It's not how it needs to be done. You need to ask for an increase in your market rate if you want to give raises. So that's how it needs to be done. But I think nobody even knew they were doing a 2% raise last year. Right. So I didn't get a heads up on that. Right. And then, so we could have said something, but everything was happening at one time. So we have a kind of a mashup system at the moment. That won't always be the way. So we need to really be telling the legislators, when we change to market-based rates, you need to take that proviso needs to go away.
Right, and I understand that prospectively. That's the approach that has to be done. But we're sort of talking retroactive at this point in time. My point being that when they did this, that was sort of their expectation. I just want to make sure that have we got any sign off from the legislative side of things on this? I know that was one thing that we had discussed. Was we were going to? Did they
only
just
that they don't want it
back?
They don't. They didn't write anything, put anything in writing that
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't indicate. They didn't come back and say no. Just send us that money back rather than do anything with it.
No, they did not.
They didn't want
it. And that's
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, as long as we have that, we have contacted the people that need to be contacted with. Just to make sure we're not going to get any.
Or you're going to get complaints because that's what happens. You'll get some people who say we didn't get enough money.
I understand that. I understand that. Obviously, it's never ideal when you have to do that. I mean, that's just the reality. And again, it really is. But what the people who hold the purse strings are obviously
Mhm.
my biggest concern on that front. Not that I don't care about what everybody thinks, but obviously the biggest concern on a financial issue like that for me is, are we, have we been upfront with the legislature about what has happened in the difficulty that this situation has placed us in, and what our plan? I just want to make sure that there's no question from their side of what happened, that we gave them the opportunity to say, nope, we'll just take that money back. They don't want it. That's great. And then we can proceed forward with our plan to distribute it out as equitably as possible, understanding the limits of what that actually generates.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
I did go to our chairman of our finance committee and told them of the dilemma we're in, and they basically told me to work with HHS to get it done.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so.
Well, I think
That-
it's specific.
That's
And I did ask, do you want the money back?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think they ever heard that question before. They didn't quite know what to do with it.
I kind of assumed that would be the case. Again, I just want to make sure that we have been upfront with everybody about what's happened and what we have to do.
We're going to see how close we can get to the actual rate that they currently have, and then we might bring back a number to you to see if we can fund the rest of it. But I have got to look at our cash flow first before we do anything.
Good. Right.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So,
Would you like to hear those numbers first before you make a decision on this?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I intend to have it for the commission meeting.
Hmm.
I just couldn't get it turned around this quick.
Are we going to have our cash flow by then? Okay. Yeah, then we can probably make a recommendation at that point. Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else on this item?
Not for
Okay.
me.
Okay. All right.
Not from Chris.
I know, you're right.
Not for me. I feel like
Okay.
we've done our due diligence on this.
Yeah, I think that horse is dead.
Yeah. Okay, so the next item is Medicaid eligibility funding to providers.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna let Mary do most of the talking on this because I don't
Okay.
fully comprehend from a case manager perspective. But in essence, in a fee-for-service world, we're asking our providers to do a lot of work related to getting folks Medicaid eligible, and it's not a billable activity until they are Medicaid eligible. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Medicaid eligibility, and also intake activities already have a dollar figure to it, but also through the waiver process, getting them on the waiver and through enrollment. So you have intake, which is eligibility, you have enrollment, which is waiver, and then you also have maintenance of trying to get folks to keep their Medicaid, which is so darn important, but you can't use Medicaid dollars to pay for that. So we went ahead and, but the other two services, we can do an administrative contract to make sure people's paperwork and stuff are getting done correctly. So our case managers have always done that. As part of that, we're just giving you money every month anyway, so do all this stuff too. But when you're not specifically able to bill for something, it's not right to ask people to do that work and not pay them for it. So that is what we've negotiated a rate that HHS is comfortable with. But we don't have that admin contract in place yet. We just don't want that bill sitting out there forever because providers are doing the work. They need to get paid for it. So we are wanting to pay them, or we did pay them.
Yeah,
Did we pay them yet? Yes, we paid them.
We calculated the July through October activity level is about $96,000. Annualized, that's $288,000, and we have to ensure that we do get this recouped because currently there is no mechanism for us to get that money back.
Right.
So to Mary's point,
It's got to be in that contract.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we don't get a large or a full agency admin contract done this year, which I think we actually will, and I'm usually a pessimist, so that's pretty good. But what we will do is do a smaller one, case management only, EI only, to make sure those funds are in that contract. One way or the other, because that's a smaller amount. It's easier to put a scope of work and a dollar amount on that contract versus the entire agency contract. But we've still got cleanup to do on contracts from prior years because that's just what we have to do. Because that's the legacy we have.
Okay, so the,
So we're paying people for the work they're doing.
It's basically informational.
Yeah, that's just information. You don't have to do anything with it.
right now, I just was trying to understand the process. So like
Okay.
the case manager is talking with someone who has DDSN services, but they're encouraging them to apply for Medicaid or TEFRA because they feel like,
That's one scenario.
okay.
And the other scenario is more likely to be that what we're paying for is that they were allowed a waiver slot. And now they're doing the paperwork to get them through that waiver enrollment process.
And so do we put parameters on how much how much time they'll need to spend on that? Is
We
it
have-
open-ended? Is
We
it
have,
gonna
no,
be-
it's not. It's a fixed price. What we did is, right, it's fixed price?
Mhm.
What we did is,
50/50.
we had Lori went through everything and checked to see average times. Because we also have quite a few people who do not go through the enrollment process. And you're getting a declination form signed, and that doesn't take time at all. So we need to still pay them for that activity of going out, talking to people and seeing what they want to do. So you just kind of average out, and that's what they agreed to pay. Sorry.
And this became an issue because of the fee-for-service.
It's just one of those other pieces. It probably shouldn't have been paid for before. Yeah.
All right. I guess we can move to the next item then. Anything else on that? Okay. So, so will this be brought up at the meeting, at the commission meeting? Is that what we're going to do? This item?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so my
Making sure.
goal, and it's key that we all be on the same page in regards to this committee. I felt the need, I felt like when I went to the commission meeting, I really couldn't get into the weeds as much as I'd like to and give y'all
Right,
chances
right,
to
to
really
try to stay
question
within a
things.
Reasonable time.
I don't want to go to a commission where we're trying to get approvals. It's the first time y'all are hearing it.
That's
Y'all
right.
got all
I
these
agree.
valid questions.
I
So
agree.
anything that's here should move on to the commission
Gotcha.
agenda. That's my view of it.
Well, and that's the reason we're having the finance committee meetings. That's how it works in boards, or how it should work.
Okay. So, the next item, final item, I think,
Mhm.
review and approval of the DOT grant.
Right.
Can you give a little history of the DOT grants, that how we're getting more and more of them, and
Well, so in actuality, I think when y'all hired Deborah Smith in at the PD Center, she went to a DOT Department of Transportation conference and was like, are we eligible to get 5310 funds for vehicles, because we operate vehicles just like the agencies do? And she was told she could apply. So Deborah, to my knowledge, has single-handedly applied for these grants for several years, probably more than 5 years, I would guess, and has been very successful in getting awarded a grant for PD Center. We don't do this at the other regionals that I'm aware of, but we'll look at it. The issue I have with that, and I haven't talked to Mary about this, really is
uh-oh.
I don't want to step on provider toes. If we're out there getting vehicles at the state level, there's limited funds. So if we're getting all these funds, I don't want to push out a provider and say, oh, well, we didn't get any money because y'all got it. So I need to look at that and talk to Mary about, how we want to look at the pots of money and so forth.
You might be surprised. There's more money than you think, but people do
Well,
not go through the exercise of looking for this money.
People go on the waiting list and then they'll call around and say, hey, we got extra funds. Do you want a vehicle? But anyway, so I'm not sure if the commission's
Year.
been involved in the DOT grant process, but they should have been. We've already been awarded a grant. So going forward, the commission needs to approve the submission of the grant because you are committing to the compliance aspects of receiving federal funds as well as providing local match, which is only 20 or 25%. Do you know?
It's
what
about,
it
I think
is?
it's
20%? Because I know they dropped it recently. So, that's only $9,700 for this year's award. So we've already been approved. So at the juncture we're at right now is for us to actually get the funds and to be able to purchase a vehicle, we have to send in what's called certifications and assurances, which are just a bunch of forms that say, we'll comply with drug-free workplace. We understand we have to comply with the rules. We'll submit
on the right side of the
reports.
road.
We'll keep records that y'all want us to keep. So in your packet, you should have all those completed but not yet signed documents. And so what we need to do, I guess, is to get the committee to review those documents, and then we'll submit them to, there's only one document in there that requires Gary's signature. And all it's doing is authorizing me basically to execute all the documents that they're needed.
Gary should be well versed with DOT grants.
We did handle a few of them at
Yeah, just a few.
Maxability.
So the money that you just mentioned, I think you said, well, I don't know if you had a number figure, but the actual fact that you'd get a van, who would the van go to?
PD Center.
So just the PD Center?
Yeah, for that one, if they do the grant, it goes to PD
Okay.
Center. Yeah. Because when they divvy out these monies, they're in certain zones, like
Okay.
small urban areas, rural areas, and everybody falls into different. York fell into two, so we were able to go for both. So it is you just have to understand the process. And Deborah worked in the community for a long time, and then when she went there, she asked that question, why shouldn't we be doing this?
Right.
So,
So
Yeah.
the total grant award,
and that-
go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, that amount obviously is under $10,000 according to what I'm looking at right here for our 15%. I was just curious, what pool of money is that drawn from? Is that drawn from the PD operating budget, or do they have a dedicated transport budget?
Yeah, it's their
Where-
state appropriation, because we can't use Medicaid money to draw down other federal dollars. So it's our state appropriation portion of our budget for PD Center.
Got it. Okay. And we've got that, within that, we have that latitude to come up with those funds?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have a $92 million regional center budgets, which they're about, I guess, 16 or 18 of that, if I'm doing my... Anyways, their budget's around 20-something $million.
Right. Yeah, I know. Percentage-wise, this is a fraction of a fraction. I just want to make sure it's, that we have the pool that's appropriate to draw from.
Yes, sir.
All right, so,
It looks like spending $10,000 to get $50,000. That's
I always thought that was a good deal.
I know, get down to 50.
But he used to ask that question all the time. We do have the money for that somewhere, right? Yeah.
you know I'm going to ask that question.
Yep.
I want to make sure that we got the,
Yeah,
where's it coming from?
we find it to get that.
It's a little bit different when we had to find it via, all right, we're not going to buy as many boxes of copy paper to come up with the extra $500 for this.
Those paper clips. Yeah, I remember. Don't remind me. Woo.
All right, well, I think we've gotten through the agenda, so I guess we can adjourn. If anyone has anything else.
I don't
Gary,
think we do. Gary, do you have anything?
I have nothing else. No, other than wanting to throw my computer through the window as we go.
Okay, don't throw your computer through the window.
We're getting new computers. We are getting new computers here, and I look forward to sacrificing this one, very similar to the fact machine from Office Space. If anybody has seen that movie, it's one of my favorites.
I know, it's good.
Do you have a favorite stapler?
All right.
Okay.
Our next meeting on this, for this committee, Gary, is going to be February the 6th at 3. And our plan is to have these meetings, these subcommittee meetings, the first Thursday of every month at 3. So
I will go ahead and say I know 100% that I'm not going to be available that day because that's the day that I have the second big surgery for the tooth situation that I'm in. So I'm going to be under anesthesia for about 3 hours that morning and pretty much.
I think it's a perfect time for you to attend the meeting. I think you have much more enjoyable time.
According to my wife, I'm much more pleasant when I'm under the effects of some sort of anesthesia. I get downright, easy to deal with. So But
good.
I just as a heads up, and I know that Lori has, and we also may be in a situation again where we have some new appointees to the committees based upon our new individuals. So just as a heads up, that day's fine, but I will not be attending.
Okay.
Okay.
On that one.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All righty.
Okay.
Talk
Thanks,
to you
y'all.
later.
Bye,
All right.
Dr. Lilley.